This is a 2004 Kyosho FW-05T, and I am giving it away. There's a high probability that one of you out there will be winning a vintage Nitro from the Nitro gang. Now last year, there was a Kyosho USA 1 giveaway. I will be talking about the repairs I have to do, and I will be firing this up. So make sure you leave a comment, you give this video a thumbs up, and please subscribe. The mission of this channel has always been to make Nitro great again. And I figured, why not buy a vintage Nitro, fix it up, and then give it away fair and square. More details regarding shipping, what you have to do, will be discussed later on in this video. I have the original manual, the instructions, and the most incredible looking Ferrari 575 GTC body that I think was really ever made for a 10th scale Nitro. Just look at these amazing looking light inserts. One of my favorite features. But guys, just because a body is red, and just because there's a certain woman named Pamela, last name Anderson, doesn't make her a saint, and it doesn't mean that this is the best running vehicle. I suggest we take the body off, go over exactly what happened. I'm going to show you guys some of the things I had to work on, and maybe we could all learn a couple tricks to make all of our Nitros great again. Onto the chassis. First thing you're going to notice, there's an awkward amount of space between the body and the wheel. Now generally, that just means the body needs to be adjusted. But from what I can tell, the pipe has pretty good clearance here in the cutout. That means there must be something else wrong. Very good looking body. Let me take it off and we'll take a look at the chassis itself. There are two main issues with this particular model. You can clearly see the front end is crooked. That is because somebody had a bit of a first date with a curb. Not very good, but this is aluminum. I have bent back aluminum chassis previously. I think this should be fine. The drivetrain seems to be normal. I can spin the wheels. There's nothing wrong with the drivetrain itself. The other situation, and I have mostly dealt with this issue already, is the fuel tank. This was leaking when I first got it. So if you take a look here in the front, you will notice what looks like a bit of super glue and baking soda. Well, that's because I used a popular hack, baking soda and super glue, to repair the tank. But I'll be honest with you, I actually melted the plastic together first and I soldered it. I've repaired fuel tanks like this previously multiple times. A topical application of baking soda and super glue, as seen in a popular YouTube video, I'm going to let you guys look at it right now, seems to have taken YouTube by storm. But I'm going to be honest with you, baking soda and super glue is not a good mix for Nitro fuel. My understanding is you want to melt the plastic. In fact, super glue tends to get completely removed with Nitro fuel. So that video, more or less, I would say, does work on plastics that are not exposed to Nitro fuel. At this point, the fuel tank is repaired. I have water tested it to make sure that it does hold a good seal and a vacuum. The O-ring is in good condition. You cannot kill a vintage Nitro fuel tank, of course, when you have done at least 2 repair hacks to it. The chassis itself, in terms of missing parts, seems to be in good condition. Now this is a 2004. So you would think this engine is dead. But I gotta tell you guys, you cannot kill a Nitro. The rule of thumb is, if you can lift a Nitro like this off the table just by its pull starter, well, you have adequate compression. Here, I'll show it to you again. There we go. Compression is good. I will also fire it up just to do a little demonstration test. Now the motor here is a very popular and long-running Kyosho GXR15. It's not one of the most powerful motors, but I'm going to tell you something. It's reliable, and it's going to fire up easily. The kind of weird thing, and this is a Kyosho thing what they do, they have a lot of weird header setups going on. You could see the header does a 90-degree turn, then it does Another 90-degree turn there at the bottom. But we do have a nice metal tuned pipe. Not the largest pipe, but it's fine. Transmission-wise, we do have a 2-speed baby. I must admit, this is one of the largest clutch bells I have ever seen in terms of the amount of teeth. Now that means we're going to get a good amount of top speed. But of course, there are other gearing issues to overcome, mainly the final drive ratio. Let's take a look at the electronics at this point. This car features 100% stock electronics and radio gear. This is the original Kyosho FW-05T radio. To be honest with you, I like it. It has throttle trim, and it has steering trim, and it has a bunch of battery wasting LEDs. But does it work? It does work. Not the fastest or the quietest servo, but you do have a period correct Kyosho FW-05T servo in there. So if you want originality, you're gonna get originality. Slide carb works perfect. The brakes are also quite good on this chassis. At this point, I do need to disassemble the front end and bend back this aluminum chassis. The bottom does have a good amount of scrapes, but listen, this is a 10 scale Nitro touring car. This is where I started out in the hobby. This is where many people started out in the hobby. This is before the days of the X-Maxx, before the days of lipos. Now, Kyosho does include a really good manual. During this time period, they were no slouch. They were known for a lot of wins. In fact, the Kyosho V1RRR was a world championship brand, and they did dominate IFMAR 1/8 and 1/10 scale Nitro racing at that.
Can't touch this.
Does this car have a racing pedigree, and what are some interesting, unique features? Well, I will discuss two features, and one of them has to do with the recoil starter. Now today, we all want bump start engines, meaning engines without pull starter and without one-way bearings, because you get a little bit of a higher RPM. This particular pull starter is a recoil starter with patented one-way bearingless design, which removes friction while providing easy starting. Now that is something that is revolutionary. Hobeo has a similar system called the COPS pull starter, COPS. Kyosho was doing bearingless one-ways back in the early 2000s. Okay, so pretty incredible if you ask me. The next thing, and we're looking at the rear hubs. I'm going to read this from the Kyosho website as well. This features the same rear hubs as used in the World Championship winning V1RRR. I noticed this particular model also has an aluminum rear hinge pin brace. Nice to see. But other than that, I do not notice any other modifications to this chassis really of any kind. It is stock. In the front we have pivot ball suspension, the same as some of the world's best on-road models. Suspension wise, it's got a little bit of a ride height, I would say. It is not as low as you would expect a 1/10 scale Nitro to actually be. A pretty good amount of ride height, I would say, in my opinion. The shocks, they seem good. I don't notice any signs of leaking. Aluminum shock caps and your basic preload. Same thing goes for the front end. Pretty good setup overall. The radio box design is one of the most interesting and convenient I have seen in quite some time, to be honest with you. It's a basic swing door design. Check this out. Take off the body pin, and we have full access to the radio gear. Now, I am including a brand new AA battery pack holder to the winner of this model. And of course, we're running still the original stock electronics. If you want to put in a 2.4 gigahertz system in it, you are ready and able. There should be absolutely no problem. Notice that awesome throttle return spring. Interesting system. Kyosho does things kind of their own way. Notice as I open up the slide carb, the entire barrel literally moves out. Interesting design. I've driven these models previously, and I will tell you the carburetors on these Kyosho motors are unkillable. Air filter, brand new, I've oiled it. You should have no problems with that.
Can't touch this.
It's time to put some fuel in this. This is going to be a very important first start because, well, we're going to find out if the fuel tank leaks or not. About half a tank should be adequate. Let's prime it, the most important test. If priming doesn't work the first time, you could have a couple issues. Carb could be a little clogged. Take off the air filter, plug up the carb, plug up the exhaust, and prime away. Okay, I see fuel moving. Okay, I just saw some fuel there in the carb. Perfect. There is good amount of fuel here in the fuel line. I could see it's completely saturated with fuel. I'm gonna put the filter back on just in case. And it really should fire up as long as there is enough fuel in the carburetor. I have the original radio there right behind, so I'll be ready to adjust and tune as needed. Let's try to fire it up here, first time. Oh, it sounds good. There we go. Fire it up. Idle's a little high. Alright, we go over to idle. Runs great. Look at that idle, guys. Beautiful. So right now I'm just going to let it run a little bit here. Because I need to investigate whether the fuel tank leaks. The clutch seems to be engaging perfectly. Holding idle nicely as well. You cannot kill a vintage Kyosho Nitro. Let me test out a little bit of the throttle response. Oh yeah. We got throttle response, guys. That's good. Brakes are good. Four-wheel drive works. Cannot kill a Nitro. The idle is incredible, guys. It's normal for the wheels to move a little bit. Once you put it down, it'll be fine. So far, no leaks of the fuel tank of any kind from what I can see. This thing holds an idle incredibly well, and that is why I like these small block Kyosho motors. The head, nice and cool, not running hot. I like it. Good to me. So far, major success. The engine is running beautiful. Probably the best idling motor I would say I own. I am gonna be sad to let this one go. Well, fuel tank, motor is good. Let's go repair the busted chassis. Let's hope we find nothing bad. Then someone's going to be owning this.
If you smell
what the Nitro gang is cooking.
So fine, but her breath is like, ooh. She say she wanna dance, but she don't know how to.